Let's optimize your YouTube ads campaigns and get some better quality views. Timestamps below, along with some other helpful links and resources, including a link to a deep dive guide to setting up YouTube ads to, of course, grow your channel and generate some leads. Now, let's kick things off with one of the worst things that can happen, and that is nothing happens, right? You set up this campaign, you're all ready to go, and then just crickets, right? You get 0 views, 0 impressions, and you're just stuck there staring at your ads account going, why on earth is nothing happening? So let's go through a couple of strategies to fix that, and the good news and the bad news. So the good news is the first thing you can do is just double your bids. So jumping into my ads account here, you can see I have an example campaign that has no views and no impressions, hasn't spent anything, and let's just say it was live. So I'd go ahead and click on it, and then for our ad groups, we'd go ahead and click on the edit button here, and then we'll just double our bid. Now, if you're doing in-feed ads, that is ads that show up around YouTube, bring your bid up to 10 to 15 cents. If you're doing in-stream like this one, you could go all the way up to 30 to 50 cents or more to just see if you can get some traffic. Do you have to keep paying 30 to 50 cents per view? No, of course not. We're just trying to figure out what is going on. Maybe it's just the fact that our targeting option is more expensive than we thought. Now, speaking of targeting options, this is the bad news because there are some combinations that are just never going to work irrespective of how much money you try and give Google. So if you are running in-stream ads with placements on channels, on videos, or on websites, and you're not getting any impressions, and you told Google that you're willing to pay $1 to $2 per view, and you're still not getting any impressions, it's just straight up not going to work. For whatever reason, for some reason, placements haven't worked too well since 2017. Pre-2017, they were awesome. We got the best results with those. But for whatever reason, 2017, 2018, things started to change. And for years now, obviously, things haven't seemed to change back to the way they used to be. Now, when it comes to, okay, well, I wanted to use placements, what else should I use? In-market audiences, custom intent audiences, and affinity audiences are virtually guaranteed to work with any type of ads that you run, and custom intent audiences is actually the one I recommend you start with. So link in the cards and the description to our YouTube ads guide that walks you through exactly how to set those up, because whether you want to grow your channel, leads, or sales, those right now, as of 2022, seem to be the best type of audience source to start with. And now that hopefully you're getting some views and impressions, let's make sure you're not paying too much for them. Because look, Google is out to make money. That's the whole point of their platform, right? You want views, subscribers, leads, and sales, and they just want more money. And the goals that you have don't necessarily line up with Google wanting more money out of your pocket. So number one, let's go back into my ads account here, you'll see I have a notification, 12 disapproved ads. Those you probably should pay attention to. But then you'll see notifications like this, raise your budget. And then if I mouse over this, it says status limited by budget. And if I click it, it's going to give me this nice little option and show if I just spend some more money, I'm going to get more views or get more results. You can completely ignore this. This is just Google saying, hey, if you spend more money, we'll show your ads more. That's it. That's literally all they're saying. This isn't any sort of optimization by any means. It's just Google saying, hey, you could spend more money so that you could get more views and we could make more money and then we'd both be happy, right? Well, not necessarily. So just make sure that when you see status limited by budget, that doesn't mean you have to do anything. That's just Google saying, hey, you can spend more money and you can get more views. Now, something you do want to pay attention to is the type of bidding that you are using. And this is a really fast way to lose a lot of money. So I'll go ahead and jump into one of our example campaigns here, and I'll go ahead and click on settings. And when we come into settings, you'll see that we have our budget and dates. I'll get to dates in a moment, but we'll come down here to bidding strategy. Now, this isn't something you can normally change when you have already set up a campaign, but I highly recommend if you're just getting started, use maximum cost per view, CPV. You don't want to use these other targeting options that they have available to you when you're first setting up your campaign. So you can't go back and change this, but to protect yourself from spending more money than you need to in the beginning, if you have a campaign that's using target CPM or CPA or maximize conversions, pause it now, recreate the campaign using cost per view. Until you have 100 conversions, don't use the black box optimizations. Don't get me wrong, they work really, really well. after you've collected data with cost per view. Now, one other thing to protect your money is making sure that you set an end date for your campaigns. So as an example, because I was preparing for this video and I realized I totally forgot to do this, if you come into my account, you'll see F73 demo leads. Well, this is a video that I created 7 videos ago. I think it was last week or something. And I simply forgot to turn it off after the demo. And so if you don't set an end date, it's just going to keep running. And you don't always remember what campaigns are or aren't going. So I'll come in back here to the campaign. I'll go to settings, and you want to make sure that you always have an end date on your campaign so it never continuously runs without you knowing about it. Let's just say, for instance, for some reason I didn't log into my account for another 2 or 3 months. Well, luckily I had it ending in a week or 2 from recording this video, so it wouldn't have just perpetually gone on and on, because Google will not give you a refund. And so now that you've protected your wallet, we need to talk about protecting your video. So one of the most common questions I get about running YouTube ads to videos is, does running YouTube ads hurt the organic reach of your video? And the answer is no, actually, according to YouTube.
If I run ads and the people who click on the ads aren't going to be as engaged, maybe, as they are from recommendations, will that hurt my overall performance?
So if you get more traffic from ads or external, sometimes you'll notice your video's overall click-through rate or average view duration will kind of tank a little bit. It'll be much lower than usual. That's not a problem, in that in discovery, each individual surface, like home and suggested, have their distinct ranking models.
Now, despite this official statement, for whatever reason, myself and clients I manage have not experienced this at all. So take a look at these charts. You'll see that this is a breakdown of a couple videos where you can see the average watch time based on being suggested, ranking in search, and then of course all the way at the end, the lowest average watch time is of course YouTube ads, right? And so what that clip was saying was the YouTube algorithm looks at each one of those bars individually. So it looks at how you perform in search, how you perform on the home feed, how you perform in suggested, and then ads is just completely ignored. Now, for whatever reason, I have not personally experienced that, right? When I go and run YouTube ads on an organic video, and I have charts like this, the organic reach on those other bars goes down over time. So even though the official stance and the official thing from YouTube is run all the ads you want and it's not going to hurt your organic suggestions or rankings at all, for whatever reason, it seems to have hurt mine in the past, which is why I still recommend you re-upload your top performing videos as unlisted, modify them a little bit, and then run traffic to those unlisted versions just so you protect the organic version. Again, the official response from YouTube is it doesn't matter and you can do whatever you want. However, just in our experiments, we continually find, for whatever reason, when we run YouTube ads to an organic video, that organic video's performance starts going down. So we always just make a copy of it and then run ads to that copy that has been posted unlisted. Now, this next tip is critical to analyzing your data, and that is making sure that when you create your ad groups, you only have one targeting option per ad group. This is the second most common question I get after why on earth do I have no views and impressions? So let's jump into my Google Ads account here and I'll walk you through why this is so important. And this diagram that you're looking at right now is from the video linked up in the cards in the description to show you how to properly structure your campaigns so it's easy to analyze your data. So let's go ahead and jump in here. I'm going to click on our prospect channel campaign here. And so you'll see that this is actually targeting a bunch of other marketing channels because we are promoting one of our Google Ads products. And so what you'll see is in the columns here, we can see earned subscribers, earned views, the percentage of the video watched, and then the display rank lost and impression share. For whatever reason, it is not loading correctly here. But what's important is this information is only available at the ad group level. So if we click into, let's say, Surfside PPC tutorials, which is another great place to learn about everything YouTube ads and Google ads, and then we go to our content, there we go, content and placements, you'll see that we're targeting a bunch of individual videos. And for whatever reason, you'll see that the view counts are 0, right? So even though these are the only videos that we're targeting in this particular ad group, they're all 0, but then total other shows us 348 views for 20,000 impressions. And so this is where the problem in reporting comes in, because you're not going to be able to see how your individual placements perform or how your individual audiences perform. All the data, everything inside of your ad group is getting aggregated into this other. Now in the past, you could kind of see what was going on here, but if I jump back up to our main campaign here and I look at all of our placements, you'll see that the view counts most of these are 0. And if we come all the way down, we see total 5,375 views, but only 23 of them have been apportioned to the videos we're actually targeting. So we have 5,700 views, but Google's only telling us where 23 of them came. Where'd the other ones come from? I don't know. You don't know. There's no way to know. So that's why it's so important to make sure you only have one targeting option per ad groups. Because if we come back up to our ad groups, well, it doesn't matter that Google's not telling us the details. We know that let's say this first one, Wes McDonald, is 601 views. It doesn't matter that we have one channel in there, or it doesn't matter that we have a bunch of his videos in there. We know that all of those videos had to contributed to this 106 views. Whereas if we combined these two ad groups together, we'd have just under 1,600 views, but we wouldn't know which channel or which placement was actually performing best. So if we come back to this diagram, that's why it's so important at the ad group level, you just have one targeting option to make sure that it's really easy when you come into the Google Ads interface, you can actually read through and see what's actually working, and because things are just going to get aggregated. And one more quick tip before we move on to scaling your campaigns and some tips there. Let's go back into my interface here. If you're finding that you are getting really bad view rates, like you're looking at your view rates here and you're going, why is my view rate so low? Or maybe your percentage viewed is really bad. Here's what you can do. You can come back into your campaign, sorry for that terrible cut there, and then go ahead and go to the audiences of your campaign, click on Edit Audience Segments. You'll have to choose which ad group you want to look at. And then you need to make sure that this box right here is unchecked. Sometimes when you're setting up the campaigns, you might check it on accident, by accident. I always mess that up. I always got in trouble for saying it the wrong way. So you might have made a mistake and click this. Now what this does is it gives Google kind of carte blanche to just target whoever they think is going to be helpful to you, as opposed to sticking to this one targeting option. So just double check to make sure that you haven't allowed Google to expand the reach of your different audiences. So now finally, let's go ahead and talk about how do we actually scale our campaigns and how do we make sure that we actually have room to scale. So jumping back into our interface here, I'll go ahead and expand it and get rid of that warning. So here are two columns that you want to look at when it comes to whether or not you can scale. You need to add display lost is rank and display lost is budget. You can of course click on columns and add them under competitive metrics. Now what we're seeing here is greater than 90%, greater than 90%, and of course this is because it's limited by budget. But let's come down to another one that's been paused for a while. This is at 11%. This means we are only missing out on 11% potential reach because of our budget. So we could raise this, like what's the budget was $15 a day. So we could raise it to $500 a day, and it really wouldn't matter that much because we're only missing out on 11% of what we could. Whereas here, we're missing out on over 90%. So increasing it to $20, $30, $50 a day means we could find more people, right? And so this is just a really quick way to know whether or not you have room to grow with your budget. Now, display rank lost is supposed to tell you how good or bad your ad is in relation to who you're targeting. So the lower this percentage is, that's Google saying, hey, you know what? Your ad really relates to these people, so you're doing a good job. Whereas if we look at 46%, this is 46% of the time we're missing out on the ability to show up in front of someone because Google thinks our ad stinks. That's pretty much what it means. Now, how do you actually improve this? How do you actually lower this number? I have not found a really good metric. And what's really silly is I've had campaigns where this number has been 80%. We lose out on 80% of our potential reach because Google hates our ad. But our conversions are good, our watch time is good, and we're actually making money off the ad. So do take this with a grain of salt. More focus on the budget, because this is going to tell you whether or not you found a audience pool that you can actually scale, or in some of these instances, you can see 11% or 28%. Down here and another 11%, there's not much more we could do in terms of our budget, so we're going to have to go find another audience source if we want to continue to grow. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. Comment below with your YouTube ads questions and subscribe for more marketing guides just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.